Welcome to Alouettes Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football. I am Tim Capper. You can find me on Twitter at Repact. That's REPPACT.
And I'm Cliffy D. You could also find me on Twitter at Cliffy D. And this episode of the Alouettes Flightdeck podcast is presented by our good friends over at SportBuff, where right now at checkout, if you use the promo code ALSFlightDeck10, you will save 10% off your entire order. So head on over to www.sportbuffshop.com. Make sure you check out all the amazing CFL and all the sports merchandise that's there, and be sure to support local.
Hey, have you missed any of the 200 plus episodes of the Alouettes Flightdeck podcast? Well, you can always go back and listen to our archive. That's over at alouettesflightdeck.ca. You can find us over on Twitter at AlouettesFLDeck. Facebook, you can catch us over by looking up Alouettes Flightdeck Pod. Instagram, which we are doing a few more lives this week. So we're getting into, it's becoming a normal thing for Flight Deck Live. So you can check us out there by looking up Alouettes Flight Deck, and YouTube, where we keep all the archives, not only of the podcast, but also of our lives too, depending on where we shoot them from. You can check us out at youtube.com/Alouettes Flight Deck. And lastly, we want to thank everybody for making it a very special week for us, not only on the podcast, but also at the store, by making our Cartoon Bird 56 t-shirt one of the top-selling t-shirts of all time on the store. You can head over to teespring.com/store/AlsFlightDeck. Check out all of our merch. And until June 16th, by using the code THANKYOU10, you can save 10% on the entire Flight Deck merch store. Episode 201. Kind of the ring, but 200 was something special, wasn't it, before we get into the actual meat of this episode. Hey, Cliff?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a bit of a 2-for-1 for you folks because, we wanted to do, obviously, the recap of the Montreal Alouettes getting their first win of the season against the Ottawa Red Blacks last Saturday, but also, too, it kind of coincided with episode 200, and we wanted that to be a special episode all by itself. So we decided, okay, we're going to tape episode 200. We're bringing in a special guest. That's going to be a standalone episode, but we still got a recap to do. We still got to talk about what we saw at Percival Molson Stadium. So guess what, folks? 2 for the price of 1. So enjoy.
And yes, as I said, episode 200 with S.J. Green. What an episode it was. We hope you do go back and listen to it. It is a longer format of an episode, just like it was with, some of our other episodes and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's about 2 hours. But again, if you enjoy the long format Kevin Glenn episode, you'll like this one too, because there's a lot of information out there. So,
yeah, and we've been very happy and very privileged as well to be able to bring you folks some of these great interviews. And yeah, well, if it's a guest that we feel truly deserves that extra bit of time, we're going to give them the extra bit of time. We're going to give them a chance to tell their story. And that's what it was. We wanted to give SJ the opportunity to tell his side of things about, his playing career, not just in Montreal, but in Toronto as well. And just getting to, hear from him again was absolutely sensational. And we're very privileged to be able to bring that to you, great listeners. And if you haven't already, please, by all means, go check it out. It's on YouTube now as well, if I'm not mistaken. So, yep, make sure you check that out. It's a bye week now for the Alouettes, so you've got the time. So, by all means, have a listen.
Exactly. So, episode 201, buddy. It's the Alouettes are back at home. It's a regular season game. A lot of hype going into this game itself. I guess what we could say is now our natural rival of being, which it has been really in the history of the Alouettes franchise, with the team out of Ottawa. A brand new team, essentially, and we didn't really know what to expect, but the ownership group really really put their best foot forward, and it was one hell of an atmosphere, a very playoff-like atmosphere. But the game was just, obviously it's better because they won, but I mean, overall though, it was just a fantastic time.
Yeah, I mean, even just before the game, with the concert by France d'Amour and Der Frères. I had to laugh, Tim. Like, I was at the tailgate, and the lineup just to get into the stadium from the on the east side, the lineup stretched out like I'm telling you, I'm not kidding when I say the lineup was a good several 100 feet long. It felt like and I don't know if it's just a matter of just trying to corral everybody in so they can get in and see the show, but holy crap! Like, this was something to see. Like, wow, people are really wanting to see this show. Like, people are just so excited to get into Percival Molson Stadium and start to take in what truly had become an event, not just a football game, but a true event from start to finish.
Was it because it was a combination of people getting into the stadium? Because I know that if you wanted to go on the field to see OLP at halftime, you had to get your bracelets also. But was it a combination of that, or was it just in general just a multitude of people?
I mean, perhaps it really truly was just a multitude of people, but I mean, it's still the optics, if you will, of seeing like a really long line just to get in. And maybe it was just the way that things were set up initially, but still, I mean, it looks good. I mean, in the idea, in the sense that, what's everybody here for? Yeah. Oh, they're here for the Alouettes game. Oh, wow, this looks like this is a hell of an event. It creates that buzz, that sort of thinking like, oh, maybe I should be here. Maybe I should be checking this out. I mean, it was great to see. And of course, the tailgate's always fun as well. But yeah, I mean, it bode extremely well. And then once you finally got into the stadium and just see like the energy, it was like nothing else. Like I felt like there's such a good positive buzz in the air. Like, you could see like people were excited. Like, the concession stands were teeming with people.
Yeah, many people commented on that on social media. Yep. Yeah,
I mean, I know there's obviously a lot of complaints that people were having to wait extremely long times just to get food or to buy merchandise or what have you. But I mean, the fact that there were so many people that they were almost overwhelmed, to me, it's still very positive in a sense that there's obviously interest. Like, people want to get their drink on, they want to get their eat on, they want to get merchandise. I mean, this is huge. I mean, like, this, to me, it was a feeling that I hadn't seen in a long time. And I'm telling you, I don't know if you can necessarily say it's because of Pierre-Carl Pelado and what he's put into making this particular home opener into an event unto itself. It was tremendous. Like, you can definitely feel it in the air. Like, there was definitely something. And I'm not the only person who has said that as well. Like, a lot of people that I'd spoken to had said the exact same thing. Like, there was palpable energy in the air. Like, you could tell people were here to have a good time. People were here to watch football. People were here to see what the hype was all about. And I would say, by and large, the Alouettes, they freaking nailed it.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, you keep talking about, what type of, atmosphere it was, stuff like that, and how just you can feel it in the air, stuff like that. As we were talking here, I don't know if you could hear it. Is it jokingly that, obviously because we have the F-18s buzz us. As we were talking, I just had a helicopter buzz the apartment, and it was loud. I was like, "What the hell's going on here?" But yeah, I mean, it's from everything that we saw there. So a lot of the stuff we haven't tried yet. We're going to want to try some of the new food stuff and like that. We got to try the new Angry Beer, which, yes, Capper tried the Angry Beer, and yes, Capper finished the Angry Beer because it was actually pretty good.
That's news in and of itself. Never mind Capper trying the beer. You tried the beer last year, and
it was like, nope.
You were not a fan of it.
Nope.
But this year's beer, the Pilsner, the Angry Bird Pilsner, you managed to drink the whole damn can, and I was impressed.
Yep.
Like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
I not like
cider Capper here drinking a beer.
Like, wow, am I in the upside down? Like, this this is wild.
Yeah.
But I will say, folks, yes, once again, it's from the Archibald Microbrewery, and it really is just one of their other beers that they just slapped an Alouette sticker on. But you know what? It's still a damn good beer, and you can't get any better than that. Now, I don't know if they sold all of them because they said they were doing a limited run, and I think it's kind of like what it was last year. Was once it's gone, it's gone. So
Yeah.
if they didn't sell all of it for this first game, you may still be able to get some on the Canada Day game coming up. If it's still available, folks, I highly recommend that you go and try it because it is a very easy drinking, a real summer beer in the sense that easy drinking on a warm summer day.
I'd actually go get it again.
There you go. Folks, if that's not a ringing endorsement, I don't know what is.
Again, a lot of the food we want to try out again. And by the way, you're talking about the atmosphere and stuff like that. It all goes for, we got to see what's going to happen with the July 1st game. That will be the gauge. In my opinion, that will be the gauge. Whether they are 2-0, whether they are 1-1 coming in to the game, that will be the gauge itself. I mean, yes, there's a whole other thing with the new third jerseys and and stuff like that, and it's family day, so $5 tickets for kids. So, yeah, again, it's something that we'll have to look at and see what how many tickets are sold, but a lot of stuff that we haven't tried yet. But the stadium was just rocking, man. It really, really was. I know you went to the tailgate prior. What was it? What happened? Can you give a sense of what was happening there?
Yeah, just once again, just that good buzz throughout, and everybody was in great spirits. I will say though that the tailgate, there was a bit of a tribute to the dearly departed Manon Calais, which I was very happy to see. There's just a photo of him was placed up on the wall for folks to sort of cheers with. They take your alcoholic beverage or non-alcoholic beverage if you so choose, and just sort of cheers Manon Calais, which I thought was a really nice touch. Like I say, it was definitely weird not having him there at the tailgate. We're still going to enjoy the tailgate, and believe me, that's what he would want too. Is that you go there, you have fun, you celebrate with everybody, win or lose, and I think it still makes for a great atmosphere. Definitely, folks, especially from out of town. If you're coming to Molson Stadium for the first time, you have to check out the tailgate. 100%. It's not like you would expect an NFL tailgate to be, but it really does have a charm unto itself, and it's definitely good times. Bring your own beer, bring your own food, get to grill it up there, and make new friends. It really is a fantastic atmosphere, and just sets the table nicely for what should hopefully be a fantastic afternoon or evening of football.
Yeah, exactly. Flyover was amazing. They jumped the gun a little bit. It's funny to say. I guess it's all about time. I'm curious to know what it is when it comes to the timing when you're trying to do a flyover in an F-18. So it's they were a little bit early for the national anthem. Got it right coming back around. I actually saw the footage post game, Cliff. It's funny. One of the pilots actually did a little loop. I don't know if you saw the footage. It's on YouTube, but one of the pilots actually did a loop on the first pass. It was actually that was pretty cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah. Obviously, as you said, they had the pregame show, and obviously I have to ask you about it because I know you're very psyched about it because that was one of the big pushing points for this game itself. But
I mean the halftime show.
That's what I mean. Yeah, but what were your thoughts on OLP?
My God, I mean, once again, everybody knows I'm extremely biased towards them, so anything I'm going to say is going to be just glowing and positive, but it truly was spectacular to see the way the stage was set up in the end zone, so to speak. Basically taking out like what it was typically known as the beer garden, like before they would have like kiosks and places, and it was sort of a social area for fans to go as well. But for this one particular game, they decided to make a whole stage out of it, and once we got access to the field to be able to take a part of it, I made a beeline. I was pretty much dead center, which I was so stoked about. I was literally feet away from Rain Maida and the boys, and woo! I mean, then they started right away. That was the beautiful part too. Like the minute, it felt like as soon as they hit zero and the players headed off to the locker room, it's like okay, everybody gets on the field right away, and then right away he just jumps right into the music, and wow! And I'm pleasantly surprised they managed to crank out quite a few hit songs. not play it to completion, of course, because I mean that alone would take an hour easily, and you really had 15 minutes technically. Probably, I think they did extend it a little bit more just to make sure that they got all their music in. Mm-hmm. But played enough of the hits that got everybody excited and stoked. Even had a little pyrotechnics as well going on. It was a really great atmosphere. They sounded it fantastic live. Even the drummer was wearing an Alouettes jersey, which nice little touch.
Yep.
And
everybody seemed to stay. As I mentioned in our Facebook Live, in our Flight Deck Live, most of the crowd stayed. Very few people got up.
That's pretty cool. I mean, when you think about it, because I know only a certain number of people were allowed onto the field, and I get that, but the fact that if you're telling me that most of the fans stayed in their seats and watched the performance, that's incredible as well. And why wouldn't you? Because I mean that they put on such a great show. I mean, the fact that you're getting the show included in with a football game is, I mean, it makes a good thing even better as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly. Have you gone back and seen what they showed on the actual broadcast yet? I haven't, so I don't know how much they showed of OLP.
No, I didn't see, if anything. So I know the Alouettes did send out a press release saying that they, in conjunction with their broadcast partners, they would not be showing any of the footage, or they wouldn't be showing it live anyways. And I don't know what, if anything, they may have showed a clip at the most, but yeah, no, I didn't see myself anything.
Okay, interesting. But great atmosphere. It's funny how all the CFL, quite a few CFL teams are actually having a big name. People can play either pre, post, or during the game this season so far. I mean, we got some huge names actually coming up I think out west this week. But all in all, I mean, for 20,865 people as the announced attendance. I mean, that's the largest crowd for a home opener since 2016, which is amazing in itself. The crowd was in it. The music was on point. People tried to start up the Firefly effect again. I heard supposedly on more or less on our side versus from what we saw on the other side of the stadium. But they were really into it, and obviously the plus is that they left happy by seeing the Alouettes knock off the Ottawa Red Blacks 19-12. And I had totally forgotten about this, by the way. Coming into the game, Ottawa had won 10 of 11. Since Ottawa has been born, the Red Blacks have been born. It was 10 of 11. They'd won in Montreal.
Yeah.
So,
and let's not forget too, this was the return of both Kahari Jones and Baron Miles, who this time last year were the offensive and defensive coordinators, respectively, for the Montreal Alouettes, as well as Kahari being a head coach, of course.
Yeah.
But you had to think revenge had to be on their mind just a little bit. That you had to think that they wanted badly to show up the Alouettes and let them know that they made a horrible mistake by letting those guys go. And as a result, the offensive output. Well, all the scoring was done by special teams for the Red Blacks. Lewis Ward kicked 4 field goals.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah, that was it. The defense did a very good job in this game, and to be able to hold them for a non-offensive touchdown shutout, very good. It wasn't all good and bad. Obvious. It wasn't all good for the Owls. But the positives themselves, Cody Fajardo, I think, did pretty good to start. I'm sure he'll get it going, especially if we can get some of our regulars out there. Because we were, again, I haven't been able to get the stats, but I could swear that this was the youngest wide receiver core for the Alouettes in decades, for one game, in decades.
Yeah.
So,
and Cody was slinging the ball too. Like, he was heaving some bombs out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. It's something we had missed. It's funny. Something we really had missed from Trevor.
No, that's the thing. With Trevor Harris, he was, once in a while you'd see a nice long touchdown from him, but his bread and butter was dink and dunk. And hey, if it works, it works. But people want to see a little razzle dazzle. And I know people don't typically think of Cody Fajardo as necessarily the razzle dazzle type, but I mean he wanted to make a good first impression, and just that first series, the bomb he heaved to Austin Mack, to set up what would be an eventual touchdown where Cody walked into the end zone, outstanding. And that just got everybody hyped right there and then. And you're thinking to yourself, okay. I mean, first of all, Austin Mack, where was he last year? It wasn't here, but he's here now. And as I said,
and still, by the way, still trying to find out where he ranks for rookies, Alouettes rookies and CFL rookies for their very first game when it comes to yardage. Still trying to get the answer. Once I do, I will make sure I put it out on social. So.
Yeah, we'll keep trying because right now CFL is just dropping the ball left.
Well, no. Being able to reach out to Steve Daniel is a huge plus for me. So that's who I've gone to. And again, I understand he's busy with all the stuff that he's doing, but yeah, I'm hoping to get that information out, or at least try to find out where he ranked. So, but still, yeah, he stepped in very, very nicely. Again, 120 yards on 4 receptions. Almost had that 1 TD. Almost. But still.
Yeah, no, and unfortunately that was about it. If you were looking for touchdowns, folks, you were going to be disappointed by this game because there was truly only one, and the rest was David Cote and Lewis Ward kicking field goals. And it happens. I mean, if you like defensive football, this was a great game for you. If you want touchdowns aplenty, then yeah, I can see how you would think this game was kind of meh, kind of okay-ish at best. But I mean, listen, I love a good defensive battle. Deontay Evans, holy cow, this guy was on one.
Mm-hmm.
Not one, but 2 interceptions. Hello. Now, mind you, Nick Arbuckle had no business throwing either of those long balls. And I think he almost knew it. Just the minute the ball left his hands, oh, this is not going to end well. And sure enough, Deontay was able to just track them down easily, way too easily.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I agree. I mean, it bodes well for us, man, because we've always said it. We're wondering how with all the losses that we had in the offseason, how we were going to do. And so again, it is only one game. I get that. But still. Cody Fajardo, 14 of 21, 261 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions.
No passing touchdowns, you mean? Because he did run.
Sorry, correct. Yeah, and by the way, that's what I wanted to ask you too. Were you surprised that he took that? Because obviously in the years past, we have had either our second or third stringer, obviously Davis Alexander, or now it would be Caleb Evans, doing those plays. But it was Cody. Do you think that's something that we're going to see more of down the line?
I guess we'll see, because we sort of assume that it would be Caleb Evans doing short yardage duty. But there's even one quarterback sneak that Fajardo did by himself, and he got it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just a matter of because he didn't play very much in the preseason that maybe he felt he wanted all the reps.
Maybe we kind of saw what happened in the Edmonton game when it came to trying with the backup quarterback trying to get a single yard for a touchdown. But anyways, I digress. Yeah.
I guess the lesson here is, folks, if you want a job done right, you got to do it yourself.
Exactly. Austin Mack did lead the team, as I mentioned before. 4 receptions, 120 yards. Then it was Keon Julian Grant with an amazing catch of his own for 51 yards. He had 2 receptions for 62 yards. William Stanback. See, I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. How William has been working to make sure that he's able to get these screen passes out of the backfield. 4 targets, 4 receptions, 46 yards. You can't complain with that. If that becomes a staple, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Use him as a double threat. I'm all for it. I really am. Mm-hmm. And then Herjim Ayala had 3 receptions for 30 yards. And then Kashan Abram had 1 reception for 3. Speaking of William Stanback, Wasn't the best day, but he did have spurts of some pretty cool, some pretty good running. He was able to tear off one for 18 yards, but 16 attempts for 42 yards, no touchdowns. Joshua Entry had one for 6, and then Cody had 5 for 15. Thoughts on the use of, because I know people were questioning this early in the season and were asking Coach Moss about this, how they were going to use the running backs versus the passing attack. Thoughts on how they did the percentage of plays between running and passing?
I think it was a good balance of the two. I think that obviously Ottawa is going to game plan for William Stanback, and as well you should, because again, the guy is one of, if not the top tier running back in this league. So obviously you're going to game plan for him and do whatever you can to try to minimize the damage, because he's going to lower his shoulder and do damage no matter what. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of how much are you willing to let him do to you. And credit to Ottawa, their defensive line really stood up. I wouldn't say frustrated Stanback, but he wasn't able to break off one of those 200-yard games as a result. But I think there was a good balance of both the passing and the running attack. But passing seemed to be doing just a little bit better. But a lot of it too was just kind of inching downfield, and then settling for 3. I mean, if the Alouettes could have turned at least one or two of those field goals into touchdowns, and quite frankly, they should have, because the receivers were making some jaw-dropping catches, and there was just plays being made left, right, and center. Like there was stuff that was happening, but just couldn't quite close. Which again, we saw a lot of that over the past 2 years. With TH7 at the helm, but now we got another number 7 doing the throwing. So
yeah,
hopefully this is just one of those working out the last bits of. As we said, the first regular season game is typically the third preseason game. Yeah. So hopefully this is just a simple matter of Cody just starting to feel things out and just trying to, get the lay of the land, if you will, and see what he has to work with. And I'm hoping now that he's had a chance to take a look at the film and with the bye week and just sort of properly re-strategize how he wants to go into the next game. I think we'll be seeing this offensive attack open up a little bit more. And if we can get a few more touchdowns out of it, it's going to be huge. And overall, I was pretty impressed with what I saw as far as offensive output goes. Even though there wasn't as many touchdowns as we would have liked, it was still a matter of
could have had another touchdown too, but except a penalty called back, a punt return by Chandler Worthy.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because we do love a good house call, but penalties, man.
Yeah, game 1. We'll see what happens. I just have to at least mention Nick Arbuckle threw 3 interceptions, 176 yards, 19 of 35. Leading receiver for the Red Blacks was former Alouette Quan Bray, 3 receptions for 58 yards, and Devontae Williams had only 36 yards rushing for the Red Blacks.
Yeah, I will say though that. Both these defensive lines did an outstanding job containing the run game, whether it was for Ottawa or for Montreal. Like both these D lines definitely played very hard-nosed football, and you pretty much had to fight for every yard. That was one thing that I took away more than anything else was there was a lot of fighting just to try to move the chains. And I think Ottawa was a little less disciplined when it came to penalties, if I'm not mistaken. So. That too plays a huge factor as well. I definitely think, as far as positives go, I mean, there's definitely a lot to like with what we saw on the field from Montreal. The one concern, though, Cody got sacked 6 times, and to me, it looked like the pocket was collapsing around him quite a bit, and that's a very much a concern because let's face it, one of the reasons why people were bagging on Fajardo last year was, well. He's constantly sacked, or he's got to run for his life. It seems at every moment, and a lot of people were blaming the offensive line in Saskatchewan for his less than stellar season. And I said, well, then he's going to be fine in Montreal because I can tell you right now, automatically this offensive line is 10 times better than what he had in Saskatchewan. And this past Saturday, like there were times where the guys were just getting blown up, and unfortunately, Cody had to end up kissing the carpet as a result.
No, that's true. But the funny thing is that we were able to speak with William Stanback after the game, and he admitted something to us, which after I went back and watched the footage again from the game itself, he said to us that he was the one responsible for 3/4 of the sacks. They were on him. Because because of a misassignment, a missed block, etc. And you go back, Cliff, and you go and you watch it. It's true. It's very interesting to go back and watch something like that, and based on that insight alone. And I think that if it's something that they're able to work on next week, I think the sacks will come down. Will come down drastically. So,
yeah. You have to give your quarterback time to work. You have to give him a pocket in order to make his reads and make plays happen. I mean, and that's what it came down to was there was just a lot of times where it looked like both of his tackles, for example, were just getting blown by, and Cody ends up on the ground. I'm like, oh, that's not good. That's just, and it's hard because as I said, I truly do believe this offensive line is one of the premier lines in the league. I really do. I think that you look at the talent that's on this offensive line, and you in theory, Cody Fajardo should have all day to make his reads and make his throws and be able to make magic happen. And there was just, as I said, at least 6 times where he just things were over before they started, even because no protection. Yeah. And to a man, I give William Stanback full points for owning up to it, saying, "Listen, that was on me. That's my bad."
Yeah.
And I remember coming away really, really impressed that he owned it. That's terrific. It would be very easy to say, "Oh, those guys, it's a process, blah blah blah. Just give them time." No, he goes, "No, that it was my fault." He stood up for his guys, and the way that we expect them to stand up for him and let him do his job. The fact that Stanback was able to, kind of fall on the sword, if you will, for the reason why his quarterback kept getting sacked. That speaks to maturity. That speaks to accountability, which is huge. Something that I've said in the past may not have always been there for the Montreal Alouettes, but the fact that this man stands up and says, no, if you're going to blame somebody, you blame me, and it's just going to make these guys better for the experience. And obviously, as you said, next week they'll be back at it. No doubt they're going to realize, we cannot have another game like that where the quarterback gets sacked 6 times. Everybody has to do better. And I guess this is Williams' way of saying, you know what? It starts with me. It starts with me, and we will get better.
Yeah, by all means. I mean, it's. I was just like you, just coming away with that little bit of insight. It really spoke volumes. It really, really did. And again, if you haven't seen it, folks, go watch the game highlights on YouTube, and they show most of the sacks, and you'll be able to see exactly what we're talking about.
I will admit though, it was hard because there was a couple of. I was looking at Nick Callender, for example. I thought, you should have had that, dude, like that. But again, for Stanback to say what he did, I mean, it really does make you look at things in a different perspective. And we even talked to Coach Moss about that as well. I said, what, were you concerned about the fact that the pocket kept collapsing? And he was. He said, no, this is not what we expect out of our guys, and best believe we're going to be working on that. So it's again, it comes down to the accountability and the awareness of what's around you. And I have to believe whatever steps Coach Moss is going to take with his staff to correct these issues and make sure that they only happen once and hopefully not again. I mean, that if that doesn't put your mind at ease, folks, about this hire as head coach, quite frankly, I don't know what will.
Any concerns about, again, it's a game 1, but any concerns with the penalties itself? I think the Alouettes had 8 and Ottawa had 3, I think it was. 8 and 3.
Oh.
any real concerns at the moment? I mean, as I said, it's only game 1, but this is. It's funny, over the past 2+ seasons, it's been nothing but talking about penalties.
Discipline. Mm-hmm. Which, again, say what you will about Noah Thorpe as a defensive coordinator. The guy knows he knows defense. He knows playing to the edge. He gets the most out of his players, whether they like him or hate him. But he knows how to make his players work. But a lot of times too, like those guys just walk a very fine line when it comes to penalties, and you know, it's like anything else. You take the good with the bad, and I guess that's how you got to look at it. Is penalties are going to happen no matter what, and just try not to dig yourself too deep a hole.
Yeah,
I guess that's really what it is.
4 of the 8 were on defense, which is really a rarity. It's usually It's usually special teams,
or it's 8 out of 8.
Yeah. But again, I'm looking at what they were here. You know, one of the weirdest ones, and I didn't see the actual footage itself. For Johnson, number 94, been called for illegal participation because he lost his helmet.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
I mean, I can't remember. Was it an interception on that play? It was something for him to continue to go downfield.
Yeah, I think it was. I want to say Ciante's second pick.
It might
have.
Did
that happen?
It happened around 5:18 at the second.
Yeah, so that I'm pretty sure that was Ciante's second pick.
Yeah, so I thought that was weird. I guess obviously I get it. You know, but it's momentum. It's all momentum. You know, so.
Well, once again, first regular season game is the third preseason game. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're gonna make mistakes, make them now. This is the game to make your mistakes, get them out of the way, and go forward.
Yeah.
If you're making mistakes like this in October, November, then we got a problem.
Yes.
But this is the time. If you're going to screw up now. That way it can be corrected.
Yeah, exactly.
At this point, they are teachable moments. When it comes to October, November, they're not so teachable.
No, you talked about Ciante Evans. We got to also mention Najee Murray having a pick also.
Oh, yes. And he was all over the place, too. Like, he was just playing like his hair was on fire. I mean, this is someone who I've been high on for quite some time now. And, you know, last year he unfortunately was bothered with injuries, didn't get a whole lot of action on the field. But coming into camp, he came in with a purpose. Like, you could tell he was on a redemption tour of his own. And sure enough, he was on one. Just like Ciante, he was definitely on one this past Saturday against Ottawa.
Yeah, and this was really the first time to see Najee in place of Adarius Pickett. Because he was basically, I guess he was not necessarily given the position in camp, but I mean, it's, you know, he was going to be the heir apparent, I guess we could say now. But so far, again, one game, so far, so good. So far, so good.
And it's funny, I remember Adarius Pickett 2 years ago in 2021 looked out of place in the secondary. They moved him into the Sam linebacker position, and he excelled to the point where he became the superstar that we know him to be. And now it almost feels like deja vu with Murray, because even though he didn't look out of place in the secondary, now they're trying him out at that linebacker position, and does not look out of place. Looks like it was tailor made for him practically. Mm-hmm. And you saw the results this past Saturday. I mean, he looked fantastic. So I'm really encouraged to see what else he can do in this role. And as a veteran of this team, like, they're going to be leaning on him quite heavily, especially in replacement of an Adarius Pickett. And to coach up essentially on the field, guys like Tyrell Richards and Brian Harlemana, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Najee can do. Wesley Sutton as well. He had a very solid game. Once again, stuff that we expect out of these guys. The names that we mentioned, you expect big things out of. And while we're talking about Tyrell Richards, very solid on defense, but man, he was laying the wood out on specials. I mean, as soon as Devontae Dedmon caught the ball, he almost was met immediately by Tyrell Richards. Mm-hmm. And that was nice. That was just nice. And we expect a lot of him this year. You know, last year, but bitten by the injury bug, as we'd mentioned. But this year, I think he's kind of on a redemption tour of his own. I would say there's a lot of guys that I think are on this redemption tour that I keep talking about. And that's great. It's a matter of showing your worth, proving that you belong on this team, proving that you are that guy. I think that's what it is for a lot of these players, is that they want to prove that they belong on this team, and they too can become superstars. And it's just a matter of, when you're given the opportunity, you got to take it. And I think these guys realize that, And going forward, I definitely see them not just taking opportunities like this, but taking every chance they can to get themselves more film, get themselves involved more in the defense, get themselves more involved in the play, and just making stuff happen. And that, to me, folks, is why I'm very, very excited to see what this defense can do in 2023.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Post-game, besides speaking with William Stanback, we were able to speak with a couple of other players. It was of the other ones that we spoke with, who's the one that really stood out to you the most, and what was mentioned?
Definitely William Stanback, as far as I said, the accountability of owning up for what had happened with the offensive line.
Yeah. Nick Usher was Nick Usher.
what a beauty.
Sorry. Usher. There we go.
He's gonna be looking forward to that.
Yeah.
No, that guy is just an absolute beauty. It's just, and you can tell he was having fun. He's playing a kid's game, and he's loving every second of it. And that attitude, that mindset is fantastic.
Yep. And then there was a Tyson Philpott also that we spoke with, which it sounds like, as everybody knows, even though he was placed on the 6th game, it looks like it will not be a full 6 game on this. That sounds so weird, but yeah, it's not going to be a full 6 game on the 6th game.
No,
it sounds like
he will not.
Yeah, no, it sounds like he's going to be coming off sooner than later, which is actually very good to hear.
It's very reassuring because, as I said, I spoke to him after the preseason game and noticed he didn't dress, and there was talk of him just going on the 1 game. I'm like, let's hope it's just a 1 game. He said, yeah, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And again, I'm all for the Alouettes being extra cautious, making sure that one of their star players, who he has become now, is well taken care of, and make sure that there's no issues or anything like that. And yes, folks, just because you're put on the 6-game list doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be on for 6 games. The Alouettes could take him off earlier if needed, or as they feel that he is ready to go. So here's hoping that that's really all it really comes down to, is just being extra precautious. And if that's the case, then we can breathe a little easier. But you can tell he's itching. He is itching badly to get out there and continue his sensational campaign from last year.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree with you.
One thing that was fun with our post-game chats with everybody, when we were talking with Coach Moss, I couldn't help but notice, like, Coach, you just won your first game as head coach of the Alouettes. No Gatorade shower. And you can tell he was very relieved not to get one.
Yeah. Well, it could have been worse. It could have been a slush puppy shower. So
it's true. And yeah, that would not be fun. That flavored sugar water, like cold and sticky. Yeah, no, that would not be fun. I mean, not that Gatorade showers are all that great. And truthfully, they're not always Gatorade. Sometimes it really is just a big old jug of water. But yeah, I can see why Coach Moss probably wouldn't want that. Like, I don't think he was too upset to not get one, but if the Alouettes win the Grey Cup, I'm sorry, pal, but you're gonna get. I am certain you're gonna get one, and it's gonna be cold as hell in November in Hamilton. So
exactly,
it's one of those things. Like, if you're gonna do it now and get it out of the way. But I guess we'll see. Mm-hmm.
Any other takeaways from the game itself? I mean, as I said, I know we're on a bye week, and I have to at least mention that there will not be a show for the upcoming game versus the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So we're not going to have a show on the 21st. And it's because your old pal Tim here is going to be paying homage to Kilauea. He's hungry. He's pissed. I got to give him some sort of sacrifice. It isn't going to be me, but so I will be sailing the seas over in the Hawaiian Islands for next week, but we will return for our normally scheduled podcast on the 28th to leading up, talking about what happened with going into from the game for the Tiger Cats. So there will also not be a Flight Deck Live, but also leading into the July 1st home game versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Mm-hmm.
So any other things did you take away from it? Anything at all?
Let's talk about, like, towards the end of the game, the last series, when Ottawa turned the ball over on downs and essentially sealed the victory for the Alouettes. First of all, during the entire offensive or defensive series, the crowd truly turned things up to another level.
Mm-hmm.
Like I talk about it being in the Thunderdome. Like it got loud. You got the lights going. You got the cheering, the screaming, the air horns, which I know everybody loves. They don't want to admit it, but they love those air horns.
Oh yeah, yep.
And just the absolute noise. And then you can see the players also too encouraging everybody, make the noise, just get everybody getting hyped up, getting excited. And I truly think it helped make that difference. And as we see, Ottawa, they took 3 cracks at it and just couldn't get the job done. But the best part was after that, during the turnover on downs, what happened? The one thing that we always want, the one thing that is, as far as I'm concerned, and should be a tradition at Montreal Alouettes games, John Denver's Country Roads.
Mm-hmm.
But hold on. Being able to play it and everybody getting into it was fantastic because they started playing the music and you can see people are starting to sing along. And just as the Alouettes were about to snap the ball and essentially go into victory formation, they stopped just before the chorus and all 20,000 plus sang along and didn't stop. They sang the whole song to completion. Well, the whole chorus, I should say, to completion.
Yeah.
And it was magical. It was epic. It was the cherry on top of the sundae, as far as I was concerned.
Oh yeah, it was again. It's sort of like what the reaction was for when OLP was playing at halftime. That brings that's so much of the atmosphere at Percival Molson, especially when you're able to get into it, because it's I hate half of it, partial of it being played and only being able to sing that or not even getting to the chord. It's like, come on. But it was amazing, and I hope it continues, man. If we can continue 20 plus throughout the year, let's get up to next goal is 21. Let's do this. Let's again. We should. Look at the next home game. As I said, there's so much going on for the next home game. Not only is it Canada Day, not only is it Family Day and $5 tickets, it's also the unveiling of the new third jerseys for the very first time. Again, and it's on a Saturday. So let's do it again.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yes, Our Lady of Peace won't be performing, unfortunately.
No.
But I tell you what, folks, if you were at the game, that's the kind of atmosphere we want. That's the kind of atmosphere we've come to expect, and we should be expecting each and every game day. And with all the great things that the Alouettes have planned so far, I mean, you owe it to yourself to come back and experience it again, because there's really nothing like it. And this team, when they're motivated and they're playing the way they are, I mean, there is no better place, as far as I'm concerned, to watch football than at Percival Molson Stadium. And I think if you were there live, you felt that atmosphere. And I want to believe that a lot of people that were there fully agreed and said, yeah, this is awesome. This is amazing. I want to be a part of it. When's the next game? I'm buying tickets. Mm-hmm. And I sincerely hope that we get close to that 20,000 again, if not surpass it. Because as you said, there's so many reasons why not. It's a holiday weekend, Saturday night.
$2 hot dogs too now. I just read that now. $2 hot dogs.
Oh, geez. There you go. $2 hot dogs. They should still sell. So they should still have some of that Alouettes beer. I mean, what a great combo right there.
Yeah, and we will have to try one of those chili bowls. That's one of the things, because dude, you would not believe how many people I saw were partaking in poutine. It was from the pulled pork poutine to the other poutine. It was like, I can only imagine how much they sold, and that was without the helmets.
I know, right? It's like you don't need a helmet to enjoy poutine. That's great. So, yeah. Listen, I mean, the idea is to have a little something for everybody. I mean, I don't know how much Slush Puppy was sold either, because I know that they were making such a deal about them being a sponsor.
I actually didn't see how much that's one thing I didn't do, was to see how much they were charging for a Slush Puppy. Mm. But we know how much they were charging for the beer. $13.
Yeah, and listen, that's unfortunately the cost of everything's going up, and that includes food and drink. But still, I mean, overall, the atmosphere at Percival Molson Stadium this past Saturday was nothing short of electric, and I truly think if the Alouettes can maintain that, keep that momentum going. Yes, winning football games will help tremendously. If somehow the Alouettes can go into that game 2-0, that'd be huge, especially going up against Winnipeg as well, who we know is essentially the class of the league, and that doesn't look to be changing anytime soon.
No.
But if we can bring that same energy, that same excitement to the game on Canada Day, I'd be thrilled. I would truly be thrilled to see that. And if they do that and still get that same crowd and same energy and everything like that, and somehow the Alouettes find a way to beat the Blue Bombers, and it just keeps on going, and it keeps going, and that's how these things build. They snowball from there.
Exactly. We will still be giving away a pair of the SportBuff Flight Crew seats, so stay tuned for that. It may be run a little bit. Maybe I can set it up to run the contest to run before I leave or when I just get back, but it will probably be run a little bit later than what it normally would be, so stay tuned. But again, I'm curious to see what these guys are able to do versus the Tiger Cats. It's again, I'm looking forward to it, and obviously leading up to the July 1st game versus Winnipeg. So
at least it's always tough a bye week, especially after with everything that the Alouettes have done to build this up. It's almost kind of cruel to go into a bye week because it almost feels like you're stopping the momentum just as it's starting to get going. But it's really going to be on the team now to at least take that memory of what they did this past Saturday against Ottawa and bring it to Hamilton. Bring that energy. Bring that mindset, that championship mindset already to there. Because again, Hamilton is going to be a tough place to play this year. I know currently the Tiger Cats were 0-1 after getting in a thrilling battle with the Blue Bombers, but they're going to be motivated, and we'll see how they do against Toronto this week. But I mean, they could be 0-2 when Montreal comes in, or they could be 1-1, and that too could truly affect how things go for the Alouettes. So I mean, it'll be a good test and a game that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing as well. And all this to say that if somehow, some way, the Alouettes can come into Canada Day 2-0, facing the defending Western Division champions in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, it's going to be fun. It's just going to be so much fun. And folks, if you don't have your tickets yet, if you weren't convinced at the show, the event that you were at this past Saturday, my God, I don't know what's going to take at this point, but get your tickets. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Like, this is a team that is built to compete and definitely provide entertainment no matter what, on and off the field. This team is geared towards entertaining the hell out of you and give you the best bang for your entertainment buck. Exactly.
Hey, want to comment on this show or any of the previous shows we've had, or maybe our 200th episode special? You can reach out to us on email. You can reach me at tim.capper@alouettesflightdeck.ca. You can reach Cliffy at cliffyd.pine@alouettesflightdeck.ca. Again, a reminder, there will not be a show next week for the 21st, but we will return again after I've pleased the gods and given them some sort of sacrifice over in Hawaii. So
please, not your wife.
No. She's safe. She is safe. I don't know if I'm going to run into the Rock either. Maybe I'll run into the Rock. Ooh. Either him or his Maui character. Who the hell knows? Who the hell knows what's going to happen? But it's not going to be Tim versus the volcano. And if anybody gets that deep cut, I applaud you.
And make sure you take some ibuprofen because your back must be sore.
Yeah, jeez. There we go. Hey, we appreciate you, everybody, and Cliffy D. I know you'll do a good job running, keeping the ship afloat while I'm gone. So, again, enjoy your time. Enjoy your week off, everybody. We will be back again on the 28th. So, for everybody here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. Aloha. We're on final approach.